Hello, welcome to my corner of the crime world. I'm Sue and I'm excited to bring you into the heart of some seriously intriguing stories. From devastatingly sad cases to unsolved mysteries that keep me up at night to chilling encounters with criminal masterminds, I'll be your guide through it all. Before I delve into today's compelling case, I would like to take a moment to extend my heartfelt condolences to the families, friends, and all those affected by their tragic events we will be discussing. Today's case is a tragic story of love sadly turned deadly. Without further ado, let's take a look. 18-year-old Lauren Astley had her whole life ahead of her. She was a gifted singer, a talented tennis player, and a recent high school graduate excited to start college in the fall. Lauren was known for her vibrant personality and compassion for others. But on July 3rd, 2011, Lauren's promising future was cut tragically short. That evening, she left work at the mall and drove to see her ex-boyfriend, 18-year-old Nathaniel Fujita. She never returned home. This is a story of a young love turned deadly, a brutal murder that shocked a quiet Massachusetts town, and a family's search for justice and healing in the wake of unthinkable violence.
We're off to see the wonderful Wizard of Oz. See here, the wonderful Wonderland. La 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 la.
Lauren Astley was born on April 1, 1993, to her parents Mary Dunne and Malcolm Astley, in the suburban town of Wayland, Massachusetts, about 20 miles west of Boston. As an only child, Lauren was doted on by her mother and father, even after they divorced when she was 6 years old. Family and friends remember Lauren, a talented young woman. She had a love of singing and a smile that could light up a room. Guided by a strong moral compass, Lauren got involved in her Unitarian church and went on mission trips to help rebuild New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina.
So when I think about Lauren, one of the things I always remember was her confidence and her boldness. And when we were young, it was really something I admired of hers. I was really shy. I was kind of anxious in high school, and she had this ability to really walk into a room and just capture it, go after what she wanted, sort of set the tone with how she wanted to be treated, how she wanted people to react to her. And it was always something I really admired. And
growing up, Lauren excelled in school sports and the arts. Standing only 5 foot tall, she was petite in stature, but had an outsized personality and confidence. By the time she reached Wayland High School, Lauren was a triple threat, singing in the school choir, playing varsity tennis, and working part-time at a clothing store. It was in her freshman year that Lauren met Nathaniel Fujita, another 9th grader at Wayland High. Nathaniel came from a well-known family in town. His father, Tomo, was a guitarist and a professor at the Berklee College of Music. Nathaniel was an athletic star on the football team, long before Lauren and Nathaniel became a couple. To those around them, they seemed like a picturesque high school pairing, but the on-again, off-again relationship was not always smooth sailing. As high school went on, Lauren and Nathaniel's relationship troubles mounted. Friends say Nathaniel could be controlling and prone to angry outbursts, especially when drinking. Lauren repeatedly broke up with him only to get back together. By March of their senior year in 2011, 18-year-old Lauren had had enough. She ended the relationship for good. Feeling a sense of relief and freedom, she looked forward to graduating high school and starting college at Wayland University in North Carolina. Nathaniel was also headed to college on a football scholarship to Trinity College in Connecticut. While Lauren embraced her future, friends noticed Nathaniel became depressed after the breakup. He withdrew from his social circle, stopped leaving the house, and spent his days smoking marijuana. Concerned about his mental state, Nathaniel's parents convinced him to see a psychiatrist who diagnosed him with major depression.
They just would fight a lot. They're always breaking up, getting back together.
I believe he loved her. He was obsessed with her.
He was very outwardly jealous, but in the majority of the relationship, there weren't these really big, flags that I would have known to look for at that time. Looking back, I definitely noticed something.
July the 3rd, 2011 began as a typical Sunday for Lauren Astley. An early riser by nature, she arrived at her morning shift at her summer job at the local mall around 9:45 a.m., just as she had countless times before. Little did she know this seemingly ordinary day would be her last. She arrived at her job at the mall around 9:45 a.m. Surveillance cameras showed her smiling as she chatted with co-workers throughout her shift. At 6:45 p.m., cameras captured Lauren leaving the mall and getting into her car. Phone records show she was on the phone with Nathaniel Fujita at the time. Lauren had plans to meet up with her friends later that evening, but they never heard from her. Calls and texts went unanswered. As the hours ticked by, Lauren's friends grew increasingly worried. It was completely unlike her to vanish without a word. Around 3 a.m., they contacted Lauren's parents, who called Wayland police to report her missing. Detectives immediately turned their attention to Lauren's ex-boyfriend. Police paid a visit to Nathaniel's house in the early hours of July the 4th. The 18-year-old told detectives he was home alone the previous evening, and that Lauren had come by for a few minutes but never got out of her car. When questioned separately, Nathaniel's mother corroborated her son's story, offering the same timeline of events to the investigating officers. Without any concrete evidence to suggest foul play or contradict the Fujita statements, the police had no choice but to continue their search elsewhere. As the police continued their search for Lauren, her close-knit group of friends refused to sit idly by, so they organized their own search parties, combing through the areas Lauren was known to frequent, desperately hoping to find any clue that might lead them to her whereabouts. It was during one of these searches that a chilling discovery was made. Lauren's distinctive red Jeep was spotted parked at Wayland Town Beach, a place she often visited to clear her mind. As her friends approached the vehicle, their hearts sank. The windows were rolled down and Lauren's personal belongings, including her purse and cell phone, were strewn across the seats, but there was no trace of Lauren herself. Immediately they contacted the police, who rushed to the scene. Together, law enforcement and Lauren's loved ones scoured the beach and surrounding areas, calling out her name and searching for any sign of the missing teenager. But as the hours ticked by with no sign of Lauren, hope slowly gave way to a growing sense of dread. Little did they know, the mystery of Lauren's disappearance was about to take a devastating turn. On the morning of July the 4th, a woman walking her dog near a marsh, about 5 miles from Lauren's abandoned Jeep, spotted something chilling. A pair of human legs were sticking out of the water, tangled in plants and fishing lines. She immediately called 911. Police arrived and made a horrific discovery. The body of a young woman bruised and bloodied. It was Lauren Astley. News of Lauren Astley's death sent shockwaves through the suburban town of Wayland. Violent crime was almost unheard of in the peaceful community of 14,000. At first, Lauren's friends refused to believe her ex-boyfriend Nathaniel could be involved. But police were already building a case against the recent high school graduate. A search of the marsh turned up crucial evidence. Lauren's body showed signs of a brutal attack. She had been strangled with a bungee cord and her throat was slashed ear to ear. An autopsy determined she died from a combination of strangulation and incision wounds to her neck. With clear signs of foul play, detectives turned their attention back to Nathaniel Fujita. But when they arrived at his home on July the 5th, he was nowhere to be found. After an hours-long search, police located the 18-year-old at a relative's house and brought him to the station for questioning. When asked about Lauren's whereabouts, Nathaniel's story didn't add up. As detectives interrogated Nathaniel, crime scene analysts got to work at his family home. Luminol tests revealed bloodstains spattered across the garage and in a crawl space in Nathaniel's bedroom. In the kitchen, they found a pair of blood-soaked sneakers inside a trash bag. DNA tests would later match the blood to Lauren Astley. With a mountain of physical evidence, police pieced together a chilling theory of what happened the night of July the 3rd. They believed Lauren agreed to meet up with her troubled ex-boyfriend at his home to talk. The conversation took a violent turn inside the garage, where Nathaniel strangled Lauren with a bungee cord before slashing her neck repeatedly with a knife. Investigators say after the brutal slaying, Nathaniel loaded Lauren's lifeless body into his Honda CR-V and dumped it in the marsh. He then abandoned her Jeep at Wayland Town Beach and threw her keys into a storm drain. Nathaniel returned home to hastily clean up the crime scene, hiding bloody clothing, towels and shoes in his bedroom. On July the 5th, 2011, Nathaniel Fujita was arrested and charged with the murder of Lauren Astley. Shell-shocked, friends and family grappled with the allegations against the football star. As a motive began to emerge, prosecutors believed Nathaniel acted in a cold, calculated rage. He lured Lauren to his home with the intent of hurting her, angry that she had ended their relationship. Nathaniel pleaded not guilty to the murder charge and was held without bail. Overnight, the suburban town was thrust into the national spotlight. It seemed unthinkable that a teenage romance could end in unspeakable violence. For Lauren's grieving parents, the devastating loss of their only child began to sink in. In the winter of 2013, Nathaniel Fujita's murder trial began at Middlesex Superior Court in Wayland, Massachusetts, about 10 miles north of Boston. The trial, which lasted nearly a month, laid bare the toxic relationship between Nathaniel and Lauren in painful detail. Prosecutor Lisa McGovern painted Nathaniel as a jilted ex-boyfriend who couldn't handle the breakup. In opening statements, she told jurors Nathaniel was a controlling partner prone to jealousy and angry outbursts. McGovern said in the months after Lauren ended things, Nathaniel grew increasingly depressed and resentful. Friends testified that in June 2011, a drunken Nathaniel confronted Lauren at their high school graduation party. He was kicked out after angrily punching a tent pole and refusing to leave Lauren alone. McGovern argued the incident foreshadowed the deadly attack on Lauren just a month later. The prosecutor further stated that Nathaniel Fujita couldn't stand that Lauren was moving on without him. He was humiliated and full of rage. He lured her to his family home, strangled her with a bungee cord, and slashed her throat in a fit of anger. This was a deliberate, intentional act of domestic violence. McGovern laid out a mountain of physical evidence tying Nathaniel to the crime. Lauren's DNA on his bloody clothing, her hair tangled in the bungee cord, and her body dumped in a marsh near his home. The crime scene told the story of a frenzied, anger-fueled attack in the Fujita family garage. The defense didn't dispute that Nathaniel had killed Lauren that July evening, but attorney William Sullivan argued the recent high school graduate was in the throes of a psychotic break at the time and not criminally responsible. In opening statements, Sullivan laid the groundwork for an insanity defense. He said that the question here was not what Nathaniel did, but why he did it. He was convinced that the young man was in the midst of a brief psychotic episode and that he was not able to control his actions or understand what he was doing. Sullivan painted a portrait of a deeply troubled teen spiraling into depression in the months before the murder. Friends testified that after the breakup, Nathaniel stopped leaving the house, cut off all contact, and spent his days smoking marijuana. Concerned about his mental state, his parents convinced him to see a psychiatrist, who diagnosed Nathaniel with major depression. A psychiatrist for the defense evaluated Nathaniel after his arrest. He told jurors that Nathaniel was likely in a dissociative state during the attack on Lauren, experiencing a disconnect between his mind and his actions. The defense said this psychotic break was fueled by Nathaniel's underlying mental illness, anger, and heavy substance abuse. They argued that this psychotic break was not an isolated incident, but rather the result of a perfect storm of factors that had been brewing for years. They pointed to Nathaniel's family history of mental illness, which included several relatives who had struggled with severe psychiatric disorders. Nathaniel's great-uncle had been diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia and believed that the CIA was monitoring him through his television. Another aunt had become homeless and was known to wander the streets carrying her belongings in shopping bags. Both of Nathaniel's parents had grappled with anxiety and depression, and his siblings had also experienced mental health challenges, including suicidal thoughts. But prosecutors attempted to poke holes in the insanity argument. On cross-examination, the defense's star expert witness acknowledged Nathaniel's behavior after the slaying. Cleaning up the crime scene, hiding evidence, and dumping Lauren's car suggested he was aware of the wrongfulness of his actions. After nearly a month of emotional testimony and graphic evidence, the jury began deliberations on March 6, 2013. Friends and family of both Lauren Astley and Nathaniel Fujita packed the courtroom, anxiously awaiting a verdict. After 8 hours of deliberations, the jury reached a unanimous verdict in the murder trial of Nathaniel Fujita. The packed courtroom fell silent as the jury forers stood to read the decision. The jury unanimously found him guilty of first-degree murder. Nathaniel, seated next to his attorney, stared straight ahead and showed no emotion as the verdict was read. The jury rejected his insanity defense, finding him criminally responsible for the brutal slaying of his ex-girlfriend, Lauren Astley. The first-degree murder conviction carried an automatic sentence, life in prison, without the possibility of parole. At just 20 years old, Nathaniel Fujita learned he would spend the rest of his days behind bars for a crime that shattered 2 families and an entire community. After the verdict, an ashen-faced Nathaniel turned to look at his parents, who wept silently. In the courtroom gallery a few feet away, Lauren's parents, Malcolm Astley and Mary Dunne, embraced, overcome with emotion after months of unspeakable grief. In a remarkable act of grace and compassion, Lauren's father crossed the courtroom and enveloped Nathaniel's parents in a tight embrace. The 2 fathers wept together, united by the profound loss of their children. After the sentencing, Lauren's family left the Wayburn courthouse as light snow fell. There would be no more birthdays, holidays, or milestones with their vivacious, kind daughter, but they vowed to ensure her death would not be in vain. Her parents began to pick up the pieces of their shattered lives. Malcolm Astley and Mary Dunne, who had divorced when Lauren was young, were united in their grief and their desire to honor their only child's memory. Together they launched the Lauren Dunne Astley Memorial Fund, aimed at promoting arts programs and healthy relationships. In their daughter's name, Lauren's father Malcolm became a passionate advocate for dating violence prevention, speaking at school conferences and events nationwide. As Lauren's family grappled with their devastating loss, Nathaniel Fujita's relatives were also struggling to understand how the quiet, once promising football player could commit such an unthinkable crime. In prison, Nathaniel has expressed remorse for murdering his ex-girlfriend, according to his family, but they acknowledge his words provide little comfort. In the years since Lauren Astley's murder, her case has helped shine a national spotlight on the alarming prevalence of breakup violence and teen dating abuse. Wayland High School now requires students to take courses on healthy relationships and domestic violence prevention, and Lauren's legacy lives on in the work of her memorial fund, which has raised hundreds of thousands of dollars to support arts programs, scholarships, and dating violence prevention efforts. Those who loved Lauren cling to joyful memories in the face of such senseless violence. Home videos capture her radiant spirit, singing, laughing, and spreading light wherever she went. Though her time on earth was brief, Lauren Astley's impact endures in the face of such senseless loss. Lauren's family, friends, and community have found purpose and healing by speaking out about dating violence, supporting youth, and spreading Lauren's message of compassion. They've created hope from despair, though nothing can erase the pain of losing Lauren. Her legacy is one of light, love, and unwavering positivity in the face of life's challenges. In the end, the story of Lauren Astley is a heartbreaking reminder of the preciousness and fragility of life. It's a call to hold our loved ones closer, work for a more just and peaceful world, and carry the light of those lost far too soon. May Lauren's spirit continue to inspire us all. Thank you for watching. I would love to hear your thoughts on this sad case, so please leave your comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe buttons for more stories every week. Till next time, take care and stay safe.